Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our October Caregiver Solutions. We're excited today to have guests from the VA to talk about services and to answer some questions about all of the various programs that they have, especially the Caregiver Support Program. We are preparing for an exciting event in November here at Vantage. We are working with AARP for an event that is sponsored by AARP. It will be hosted on Thursday, November 2nd from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. And our theme is Rest, Relate, and Rejuvenate. This is a program to celebrate caregivers. We all know, I think, in the work that we do, how hard caregiving can be, even if some of us who are caregivers ourselves. And we really want to celebrate that. November is National Family Caregiver Month, and what better way to celebrate that than to have something where we can pamper those who take care of others so well. Some of the services will be, or the fun things we'll be doing, we will have some appetizers. We also have aging as an art form, and I'm really looking forward to that too, with guests from Direction Home Area Agency on Aging and Disabilities, a Prepare to Care presentation, chair massages, hand massages, and music and ice cream. So all of those things sound wonderful. And even better, it's being hosted at House 330. I don't know if any of you have had the privilege of getting to go there, but it is, of course, the former Tangier that has been renovated, and it's beautiful. And we are very excited to have our event at that location. It's beautiful, and I know we'll have a good time. We will have a link for the registration. It is, of course, an event for caregivers, so if you know of anyone or are a caregiver, we would be happy to have you attend and join in on the fun. And I think that's all that's new with us, but I am going to introduce Teresa Pabucky. I knew I was going to say, I'm going to look at it again. And you work with the VA Caregiver Support Program, and Teresa is a social worker. And I have been working with Heather Cole Lively, who is also a part of that program. She is the manager, if I have that title correct. And you all were kind enough to come to speak to us today about what services you provide. I do have to say, I never knew that that program existed specifically for caregivers until I spoke with Heather, and I was on the phone with a Meals on Wheels potential client who is having a lot of caregiver stress, and I gave her that resource. So I'm so glad to know about it, and I look forward to knowing more about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dana, for that introduction. Thank you very much for having us here this afternoon. And I can't see who's joining us from Facebook Live, but thank you to all of you who are there for taking the time to be here today to learn about the VA Caregiver Support Program. And thank you first and foremost for all that you do in a caregiving role. We know how challenging and how stressful it can be. Also definitely rewarding and meaningful, but it's definitely it can be a difficult job. So we have a lot of respect and appreciation for all that caregivers do. And I'm glad that there's growing recognition and appreciation and supports available, because nobody can do it alone. Nobody should have to. And so we do have a PowerPoint I'm going to be sharing that has some information about the VA Caregiver Support Program. So just a moment here, and I will attempt to share my screen.
No rush. I know that always takes a minute to make it.
I know, it really does. And you would think after several years of pandemic that I would have gotten used to it. Part of the challenge is the different platforms, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
All right, so give me just a moment.
Sure.
All right. Okay, are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes, we are.
That's exciting. Okay, thank you for your patience.
Of course.
So, as discussed, so I'm going to be presenting my program manager, Heather. If she comes on, she can definitely chime in. but I will begin. So the VA has a caregiver support program, as discussed, and we're very happy about it because, at least to my knowledge, this is the one program at the VA that does not immediately and directly support veterans themselves. There are many programs at the VA that, of course, serve veterans, but we're unique in that we are here to provide support, education, and resources to anyone who is caring for a veteran. I saw that there was a number that joined. Heather, is that you calling? Okay, no, it's not. No, it's fine. So the VA Caregiver Support Program consists of two main programs, almost two different sides of the house, if you will, and I'll talk about each of them in turn. And the first program that I'll talk about is the Program of General Caregiver Support Services, or PGCSS, which is more of our emotional, social, and educational supports. And then on the other side of the house, we have what we call our Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. And that program can provide a financial stipend to caregivers, along with health insurance and some other benefits as well. So we'll talk about each of these this afternoon. So let's start with just a little bit of a timeline about how this program began and how it developed. So the program was initially established by legislation back in 2008, and it's really grown quite a lot since then. There have been a number of expansions since that time. So in late 2007, as military operations in Afghanistan and Iraq progressed, the provisions of services and supports to family caregivers of veterans who were seriously injured in those conflicts really moved to the forefront. And family caregiver issues became a focus of the President's Commission on Care for America's Returning Wounded Warriors. And that was established by President George W. Bush back in 2007. And in 2008, the VA Caregiver Advisory Board was established to develop the Caregiver Assistance Program. So again, with these conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, new challenges presented themselves to our service members returning from combat with serious injuries that may have been fatal in previous conflicts. And so these service members required personal care services, which are often provided by family members and loved ones. And in recognition of this significant challenge, in 2010, Congress enacted the Caregivers and Veterans Omnibus Health Services Act of 2010. And that required VA to establish specific supports for caregivers of veterans. And it was that legislation that really established those two programs I mentioned, the General Caregiver Supports Program and the Comprehensive Program, which is that financial stipend side. So 10 years ago, the program officially began accepting applications. Hello, is that Heather?
Teresa, yes, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Welcome. I'm so glad you were able to call in.
Yeah, I so apologize. I'm having some technology issues. So, but Teresa, continue. And
we were just saying that happens every time. There's always something.
Oh my goodness, I know. Heather, I'm just, do you want to take a moment actually and introduce yourself? I was just talking a little bit about the timeline.
Okay, I am so sorry. Again, technology issues and going from one meeting to another can not give you a lot of time to work those bugs out. I'm Heather Cole-Lively. I was actually the original caregiver support coordinator for the Cleveland VA Medical Center. I started with the program in April of 2011 and developed the program from April 2011 until actually this past August in 2023, where I moved to the VA is organized in regions, and so I took on the caregiver support region, what we call a VISN lead position for caregiver support. So I have 6 medical centers that report through me, up to what we call our central office. And so I've been with the program for almost 13 years and been with the VA 15, been a social worker for 26 years. So I'm happy to join you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Heather, maybe I'll just continue with where I'm at. And once I finish talking about general supports, if you want to jump in and talk about the comprehensive program, if that's okay. But feel free to chime in too if there's anything you want to add to what I'm saying.
Will do.
I've got the PowerPoint slide up. So, and Heather's been with this program since its very inception, when it was, she was the whole program. So she was our manager, and we're very excited for her that she's moved up, but certainly miss her in her management role. But 10 years ago, the program officially began accepting applications for the comprehensive program. And originally, the program was only available to veterans from who had served on or after September 11th of 2001. And then in 2020, the program had its first major expansion, and it began accepting veterans who had served during the Vietnam War and prior. So that was a huge expansion. We really expanded services, and we began serving veterans who had served in the military honor before May 7th of 1975. And we had our second major expansion in 2022. And currently, we are accepting veterans who require care regardless of when they served in the military. So we're very excited to be able to welcome veterans and caregivers of all eras into the program. And I'd like to start talking about our services by discussing the Caregiver Support Program website. And as I move into the specifics about these programs, really the website is a very helpful resource. It's a wealth of information. We've got some amazing resources available to anyone interested in learning about the Caregiver Support Program, as well as helpful education and information for caregivers. So we have a zip code-based interactive caregiver support team coordinator locator. So if you don't know where to start, try our website. It's www.caregiver.va.gov. Again, it's caregiver, one word, .va.gov. And if you don't know who your contact is, or if you have a friend who maybe lives in another state and they want to know how to contact their caregiver support team, you can go to the website, type in your zip code, and there's a helpful interactive map that will give you the direct contact information for the caregiver support team in your area. What's wonderful is that this is a national program, so every VA site is going to have a caregiver support team across the country. And so all you have to do is type in your zip code and you'll be able to find the direct contact information for your team. And in addition, there are so many resources available on the website. I was just looking at it this morning, actually. Obviously, there's information about the VA Caregiver Support Program, but there's also so many free resources available to any caregiver. Information about a wide variety of topics, including advanced care planning, caregiving with children and adolescents, caring for your finances, communicating and managing emotions. There are even recipes and downloadable cookbooks. And we also have links to our community partners. We have national partnerships with the Red Cross, the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers, and there are just tons of helpful resources and educational videos as well that are diagnosis specific, mental health resources for veterans, as well as coping resources for caregivers. helpful recordings. I could go on, but really it's a wealth of resources and it's a great starting place. Caregivers can also apply online for the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. Heather will talk more about that in a little bit here, but it's a great one-stop shop if you're just curious and wanting to learn more. Again, that website is www.caregiver.va.gov. And another important resource that I want to talk about is the Caregiver Support Line. And this is a national toll-free number that anyone can call. The number is 855-260-3274. Again, that number is 855-260-3274. And the Caregiver Support Line is available to caregivers, family members, friends, veterans, and community partners to contact for information related to caregiving and available supports and services. We have a dedicated Caregiver Support Line team that can provide information on caregiver support services, counseling, educational services, and referrals to the local caregiver support team at the local VA medical centers. And the nice thing about it is that it's staffed by licensed social workers who are well trained in providing information, not just about the caregiver support program, but also about VA resources in general. We get a lot of people calling the Caregiver Support Line with questions about respite and home health aides. And the Caregiver Support Line staff are very happy to answer some of those questions and direct caregivers to the appropriate local resources. And their hours are pretty generous too. They're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. No Sunday hours currently, but definitely some generous evening hours and the Saturdays as well. And you can, if someone were to call that line, they can get, emotional support and some counseling. They can definitely get some referrals and resource linkage and information about the VA, in addition to direct contact information for their local team. We get quite a number of calls from the national Caregiver Support Line that come to us locally, and we do our best to follow up within a couple of days so that people are really getting some meaningful support locally as quickly as possible. So now I want to jump in and talk a little bit more in depth about the program of general caregiver support services. And the mission statement for this program is to serve caregivers with respect and service excellence through a wide range of support, education, and tools that empower them to care for themselves and the veteran. So caregivers who participate in, the General Support Program, or PGCSS, are people who provide personal care services to a veteran who is enrolled in VA healthcare. So that is important. In order to be eligible for the General Supports Program, the veteran has to be enrolled in VA healthcare. And the general caregiver needs to be providing some level of care to the veteran. So that could look, we have a pretty broad definition of it. So the veteran might need assistance with one or more activities of daily living. So things like bathing, dressing, mobility, toileting, or eating. Or the veteran might need supervision or protection based on symptoms or residual symptoms of some kind of neurological or mental health impairment or injury. So for instance, if a veteran has dementia or a traumatic brain injury, if they have a history of a stroke or a serious mental illness, they might need some level of prompting or instruction or supervision to make sure that they stay safe and they can maintain a schedule throughout the day. So general caregivers do not need to be related to the veteran. They don't have to live with the veteran. We have some caregivers enrolled in our general supports program who are friends or neighbors. And we also have some general caregivers in the program who are providing advocacy or healthcare coordination for veterans who reside in a long-term care facility. So the veteran doesn't even have to live in the family home in order for the caregiver to be considered eligible for the general caregiver supports program. And we really have 4 core elements of this general supports program. We recognize that it was important across the VA for all caregivers to have access to the same resources and services no matter where their veteran received care. And so 4 core elements were established, as you can see here. And they are education and support, collaboration and partnerships, outreach, and resources and referrals. So I'll briefly go through each one of these elements. And first, we'll start with education and support. So we provide one-on-one clinical support to help the caregiver care for both the veteran and themselves. And this is based on the needs of the caregiver. There are some caregivers who might wish to have weekly or monthly check-ins over a set number of weeks, whereas others may want a monthly support call ongoing, or they might want to join a workshop or one of our support groups. And we also have some caregivers who are just happy to receive our weekly emails and know that we're available, know that they can call us. It really ranges. Some caregivers want to participate in all the supports. Other people are just happy to know that we're here. And none of these supports are, I should say, all of the supports are voluntary. There's nothing that a caregiver has to participate in. So we also provide support groups, topic-specific support groups. I'll talk about those a little bit later, that are really targeted at bringing together caregivers facing similar circumstances or caring for someone with a specific diagnosis. We provide some of our groups virtually, and we're also starting to offer some groups in person, which we're very excited about. The national health emergency has ended, and so we're really getting out more and doing some in-person groups. And the second core element is collaboration and partnerships. Caregivers are present throughout the VA and in our communities, and it's critical that we collaborate and maintain strong partnerships to be sure that caregiver needs are met. And these collaborations and partnerships happen at the national level and at the local level too. I mentioned earlier, we nationally have relationships with the Red Cross Military and Veteran Caregiver Network, the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers, and Elizabeth Dole Foundation. We often say the VA can do a lot, but we can't do it alone. And this is why our trusted partnerships with community partners are so key. Third, in terms of the core elements, we have outreach. And we want to be sure that caregivers know we are here for them. So we work to make sure we're putting out communications to alert caregivers as to what is available to them. We don't want to wait for caregivers to find us. We want to reach out. We want to bring them in for support. And we're involved in ongoing efforts to do that as best we can. And finally, the fourth core element is resources and referrals. So the General Caregiver Support Program helps caregivers to get connected to the right services and support for them, whether that be at the VA or in the community. We want to be sure that caregivers and families have awareness and connection to the resources available to best meet their specific needs. So I'll talk a little bit about the specific supports and educational offerings that we have through the General Supports Program. So training and support is offered through different opportunities via in-person, online, and telehealth sessions. And we have quite a few options for how caregivers can get support. First and foremost is the VA SAVE training. And this is a suicide prevention training that equips caregivers to demonstrate care, support, and compassion when talking with their veteran who could be at risk for suicide. This training offers important information as well as simple steps and actions that caregivers can take. We know that suicide is unfortunately more common among veterans, and we want caregivers to feel equipped and empowered to be able to talk with their veteran loved ones about it and feel that they have some basic skills so that they can reach out and help prevent it. We know that it's often kind of a scary topic, and so this training is so important, and we encourage our caregivers to take part in it. Another skills training offering that we have is the Building Better Caregivers online workshop. And this is a 6-week self-paced workshop that was actually developed by researchers over at Stanford who are trying to find a good evidence-based way to help caregivers build skills and reduce stress. And this program is well researched. And the unique thing about it is that it's facilitated by 2 facilitators, at least one of whom is a caregiver themselves. I think that aspect is really important because there's something to be said for having a group facilitated by somebody who's really walked the walk themselves and knows about the challenges. And so these Building Better Caregiver workshops are facilitated by fellow caregivers, and they're led in small groups. There's actually a new Building Better Caregivers workshop that starts every week. So if a caregiver is interested, they can enroll, they can pick a date that works best for them. And through that workshop, it really works on helping to reduce stress and manage stress, and also building skills for caregiving. A lot of times caregivers don't have, professional training in caregiving. They haven't done any formalized training programs. And so it's a lot of on-the-job learning, if you will. And so Building Better Caregivers helps equip caregivers to learn some practical hands-on skills that they need. We also offer mobile support via our Annie Caregiver Text program. So this promotes self-care for caregivers. Annie is an automated text message service that was developed by clinicians at the VA to help caregivers manage stress and support self-care by sending several text messages a week with a focus on education, motivation, and activities to manage stress. So for instance, Annie might send a text about a breathing exercise that a caregiver could try, or an idea for managing stress, or a tip that's diagnosis specific, or a little motivational quote. Annie's not a crisis text service, so if a caregiver were to text back, they wouldn't get a response in real time. But it's a really helpful mobile support program. Everybody I talk with who's enrolled in Annie loves it, so it's a nice little offering that the program provides. And we also offer one-on-one coaching for caregivers. So we do that in a couple of different ways. We have the Resources for Enhancing All Caregivers coaching program, and it provides caregivers with problem-solving skills, stress management techniques, and specific information on diagnosis-specific concerns that are customized for each caregiver. So if a caregiver decides to do one-on-one Reach VA coaching, they get their own diagnosis-specific notebook that has information about, say, PTSD or dementia or ALS. And they really, the coach goes through the notebook with the caregiver to help with problem solving. And it's very individualized. Oftentimes people will bring a problem or two that they really want to work on in individual coaching. And Reach VA is very helpful for providing some education, stress management, and problem solving. And we also recently began offering caregiver health and well-being coaching. It's very exciting. I was actually recently trained as a caregiver health and well-being coach. And this program it's really empowering. What we do as health and well-being coaches is really to sit in the passenger seat, and we are a cheerleader, we are a supporter, we are a collaborator in helping the caregiver make changes that they want to make in their own health. And so we're providing health coaching for caregivers who want to make any change in their life related to their overall health. This could include things that we usually think of, like changes in diet or nutrition, or weight loss, or increasing exercise, but it's so much broader than that in terms of helping caregivers make any change that they want to make in their life, maybe in terms of broadening their social network, or building community, or deepening in their spiritual practice. Health coaching is really broad, and it's really about helping caregivers connect with what's most important to them, what their deeper values are, who they are outside of their caregiving role. And it helps them to build the motivation to make the changes they want to make in their own lives. And so continuing on with the education and support that we offer in the general supports program, we also have caregiver self-resilience courses. These are taught by our office in Memphis. There's a Memphis Caregiver Center, and they offer some great resilience courses. We have one coming up in November that it's going to help with stress management and teaching some skills in that area. And we also have our Caregivers First group, and that's a skills training program that has the goal of connecting caregivers with each other, and also to resources to help them feel more confident, capable, and supported in their caregiving role. We offer Reach VA groups as well. I talked a little bit about Reach VA individual coaching, but we also offer Reach in a group setting. We have a peer support mentoring program as well, and that happens on the national level, where a caregiver, for instance, maybe someone who's new to caregiving can say, I would really like to work with a mentor, somebody who maybe has been a caregiver for a while and has been on this path and is able to provide some mentorship and some support. And so the VA can connect caregivers who want to be mentors with their peers in a caregiving role, just to be able to provide some one-on-one support. And then locally as well, we offer a variety of support groups. So for instance, we have our cognitive wellness group locally. That's a support group that meets twice monthly, and it is focused specifically on supporting caregivers who are caring for a veteran with dementia. And that group is facilitated by my colleague, Ashley, who has worked in dementia care for the past decade. She's wonderful, and it's a great opportunity for caregivers to really connect with other caregivers who are supporting a veteran with dementia. We're also currently offering a cognitive behavioral therapy skill building group. I'm facilitating that one. It meets weekly, and we're building skills for managing our stress and seeing how our thinking contributes to our moods and our actions. So that's been a really great skill building group. And we also meet in person monthly at the Independence Library. Ever since the national health emergency ended, we've been able to meet in person, as I mentioned. So some people really want to meet in person. Other people aren't necessarily as able to, because it's hard to leave home, or they feel like they can't leave the veteran alone. And so we try to be pretty flexible in terms of how we provide our supports. Some people, really prefer virtual, so we're continuing with that, but we're also offering the in-person as well. There's something to be said for the convenience and flexibility of virtual meetings, but it doesn't fully replace seeing people face to face, or being able to share a cup of coffee together, or exchange a number, the kind of socialization that happens organically in person. So we're trying to make sure we continue creating spaces for that. And so next, outreach is, another important goal. And caregiver support staff, we do our best to serve as subject matter experts. And we are always making efforts to outreach to various organizations, agencies, and stakeholders, including in-person events and virtual offerings like this one. And we do this year-round through planned events as well as upon request. We're doing more and more outreach in the coming year. And so we're really trying to get the word out, let people know that we're here, that we exist, that we can provide supports. Because again, we don't want people to have to work to find us. We want to have as much of a presence in the community as we can. And then we also provide resources and referrals. So we work hard to make sure that we have relationships with programs, not just in the community, but also at the VA. You know, we have collaborations with our whole health program, and we're trying to be able to connect caregivers with other resources in the community and through the VA. So that leads us to the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. So Heather, do you want to talk about that program?
I sure can. Can you hear me? Because I switched devices.
Oh, I can see you too.
Okay, great. I'm glad you can see me. So our program of comprehensive assistance, it is our program where caregivers and veterans who meet requirements, caregivers can receive a stipend and what we call CHAMP VA, so health insurance. This program came about as a result of legislation that was signed in 2010. It was Public Law 111-163. And what they were finding, what Congress was finding at that time was that we had a number of seriously injured veterans who had served after 9/11 coming home and without the care of family at home, they may have otherwise ended up receiving care in an institution. So this was they enacted this law and required VA to set up this program where family caregivers could actually receive a stipend for the care that they were providing. And that was the program for the first, I think, so 9 years of the program. I think it was the first nine years. And then in 2020, the legislation changed and we expanded it to all errors. So for this program, there are 7 veteran eligibility areas that the veteran must meet in those 7. They must meet those 7 requirements in order to be eligible for the stipend. So the veteran has to be a veteran or a service member that underwent medical discharge. They must have a serious injury that incurred or was aggravated in the line of duty, defined as what we call 70% service connection rating or higher. And what that means is the veteran served, and coming out of their service, they received a service connection rating of 70%, which is like a disability payment. And that this could be a single or a combined rating that they have to have 70% in order to qualify for this program. They meet, the veterans must meet in-person personal care services with a minimum of 6 continuous months. And that is an inability to perform an activity of daily living, or a need for supervision and protection based on symptoms of, residuals of a neurological or other impairment injury, like a traumatic brain injury. The need for regular or extensive instruction or supervision, without which the ability of the veterans' ability to function in daily life would be seriously impaired. And Teresa, were you advancing slides? Because
yes.
I don't have the ability to do that on this device. Thank you.
Sure.
So
if you say next slide, I'll move it ahead.
Thank you
I'll be
so
on top of
much.
that.
So PCAFC services, much like all of the wonderful services that Teresa described, those are all offered to PCAFC, and then there's some extended benefits for the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers, and that includes enhanced respite. So when veterans are enrolled in the VA, every veteran is eligible for 30 days of respite a year, and that can be in-home respite, where it's just a day respite, or it can be in a facility. It can be in a contract facility for the VA, or it can be in our facility at the VA in Cleveland. We have some units that will, if they have beds available, they will do respite. So veterans who are enrolled with their caregivers in the program of comprehensive assistance can get additional respite beyond that 30 days. Those caregivers can qualify for mental health counseling, and they can receive that stipend, which is like 62.5% or 100% based on which level that they were approved at on a general or OPM general schedule grade of a step 4 or grade 4 step 1. They have access to CHAMP VA, which is the civilian health medical program through the Department of Veterans Affairs. And they also have access to financial planning and legal resources for the primary caregivers. And so actually, since the time that we did this last, that financial planning and legal services resources is as a hub, and it's up and running, and we just have to make a referral for people. So next slide. So the application process it entails completing what we call a 1010 CG, which is an application. It's a short form. It is the information that's included is the veteran's name, birth date, social security number, and their signature, and it's the same for the caregiver. And that is sent to, either you can apply online, or it is sent to Atlanta, Georgia, where they upload it into a system, and then that comes to the local team, and the local team calls you, and they walk you through the application. So applications can be completed at the caregiver.gov, or the local team can send you a 1010 CG, a paper form, and they can be mailed to Atlanta, Georgia. And you can also stop by a local VA, and the CSP, the Caregiver Support Program, can provide assistance with filling that application out. Next slide.
Oops.
That's okay. So this application for the program of comprehensive assistance, a lot of times, and this chart can be a little overwhelming when one looks at it, but from start to finish, it's generally a 90-day process. It's not one of those processes. Sometimes people apply for benefits, or sometimes people apply for a service connection, and it might take a good year and a half. This is not that process. This process is 90 days from start to finish. Our local team is really good. They usually come back much quicker than 90 days at this point in time, but you submit the application is received. The caregiver will get an intake call from a caregiver support coordinator who will review everything on the application. And then there's a veteran assessment that's completed, a caregiver assessment that's completed, and a veteran functional assessment that's completed. And once those things are completed, the coordinator will then send that, all of that information to a central eligibility and appeals team at a level that is above them. And that is a clinical team that is made up of a medical provider, a psychologist, a social worker, and a physical or occupational therapist. And they review everything and make that determination and send that determination back to the local team, where if they're going to be approved, the caregiver then goes, is entered into caregiver training, and we complete a home assessment, and then it goes back for a final approval, and then the caregiver is approved. And after that, the team does, they do what we call a wellness consult or a wellness contact, and they do that every 120 days. And one visit a year is in the home. Next slide. So there are appeals. If a caregiver and a veteran apply and they are not approved for the program, there is an appeal process, and there's multiple options to appeal those applications. Next slide. So that is the gist of our presentation, but I'm really interested to hear questions from the caregivers that are on the line, and maybe questions that they have about the VA. And sometimes navigating our system can be a real challenge. And sometimes you just need a roadmap, and that's really our providers in this program do that often. People don't know where to start. If they have questions about enrollment in the VA, if they have questions about other VA services, as much as we can, we're here to help and to answer questions for you. So I'm more interested in what information you're seeking as a caregiver, and what assistance we may be to you.
Anyone have questions, or do we have any from our Facebook Live? Not yet. Okay. Well, I am not a caregiver. However, I do a lot of intake for Meals on Wheels, just here as a social worker advantage. And a lot of times what I get asked is people just don't know where to start, like you said. And I didn't know until you and I talked, Heather, that there was a caregiver support line, because if someone hasn't established themselves with the clinic or, any of those steps to kind of try to get the process started, would it be understandable to have them call the caregiver support line to just talk through those things?
Yeah, they could call the caregiver support line, and what that will do is they will give them the local, they'll put in a referral to the local team, and the local team will call them, and the local team can walk them through the best way to get enrolled. If people have questions, enrollment can be done at any, if you don't have to go to Cleveland to enroll. It can be done at any of our local sites. I know you're in Summit County, so we actually have a VA here in Akron on Waterloo Road, and there is one in Canton as well. Those are what we call we call them CBOCs, but that's the clinic, outpatient clinics that we have, and we have 13 of them, soon to be 14, in spread across Northeast Ohio. And you can walk in and you can say, I want to enroll, and they will provide you the application. They'll take the information. You do have to have a DD-214. So that is the only thing. And a DD-214, for those who are not familiar, is the every veteran who served would have had a DD-214 when they were discharged. So it shows their service, their length of time when they served, and the nature of their discharge. So, but certainly calling the caregiver support line, they will send that referral to the local team, and the local team can say, we think you're closest to this clinic, or sometimes we can mail the paperwork, but then we encourage you guys to go into the clinic to start. And sometimes that's just the best way to do it, because you have to get enrolled in services to be able to participate. So
That is very helpful. Thank you. I actually didn't realize that you could do a walk-in at the clinic. So I never would have recommended that for somebody. So that's good to know too.
You can absolutely do a walk-in. They just have to have the DD-214. And if that's something, sometimes I have older caregivers and they said, hey, maybe the veteran is memory impaired. We don't really know, I have got family members helping out. We don't really know where they put their DD-214 or they don't have it. The Veteran Service Commission is very good at helping locate those and can help locate them for you.
You read my mind. I was going to ask that question.
Yeah.
I know that's on their website. I was looking on their website before you all came on, and because sometimes I always wonder which one to go with as far as getting assistance with which needs. So that's
so
good
Veteran
to know.
Service Commissions, they're really good about if you are missing a DD-214, they can locate it. They can help with applying for a service connection. So we are the healthcare system, and the Service Commission is very good at helping apply for benefits. So, and we usually recommend that people who are applying for benefits connect with a service organization that can help walk them through, make sure all their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed, and they know how to guide it, and they can follow those applications and they can follow up on them. Whereas on the medical side of the house, we can't always do that. So they are very good at that. That is their job. They do it all day long. And they're the experts. So we often recommend anything benefit wise. So, even if it's finding your DD-214 or seeing if they might be eligible for a service connection. They were in the service, let's say they were in Vietnam and they have an illness that we think might be Agent Orange connected. They are going to be the ones to know. They know all of, that's their wheelhouse. They're educated on that. They can help apply for that. If somebody's applying for aid and attendance, it's a relatively easy process to apply. But once that application actually leaves your hands, it can be kind of difficult as a civilian to track. So I always recommend, if you're applying for aid and attendance, which is it's a monetary sum based on the veteran's service, but it's meant to help really kind of keep their care at home for as long as possible, or to help support them in an assisted living facility. So that's, again, more benefit. So they are really good at helping navigate those waters. And even if you call the caregiver support line, sometimes we'll be able to tell you, there are responders that will say, that's maybe we think you should contact the service commission, or but locally, if they give you a local referral, we're going to be able to tell you which one is closest to you.
That's
I
great.
also received, sorry, go ahead, Dana.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Okay. I had received a message in the chat, and the question is the program for spouses of veterans or just veterans only? And this caregiver support program is for anyone who's in a caregiving role for a veteran who's enrolled in VA healthcare. So absolutely, it's for spouses, it's for family caregivers, friends or neighbors who are caregivers, truly anyone who's in a caregiving role for a veteran who's enrolled in healthcare. So actually, this particular program, it indirectly benefits veterans in that if caregivers are well supported and well educated and well cared for, then definitely that benefits the veteran too. But this program is unique in that, I think I said it before, but I think we're the one program at the VA that does not immediately and directly benefit the veterans themselves. Mm-hmm. We're here for the caregivers. So absolutely, spouses included.
And so, yes, we are, as Teresa said, we are very unique in that we are the one program that services the caregiver first. And it's actually, I mean, that's a privilege to us because it supports the veteran, but it's very different in that all the other programs really service the veteran. And our job is really to support the caregiver and provide them with the support and education. Now, if the program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers is only like the veteran has to be the care recipient and they have to be service connected. Now, there are times where aid and attendance, which is it's a different program, but it's meant to help keep that person in the home. There are circumstances where the spouse, maybe the veteran has passed, but the spouse was a dependent, and they might be eligible for that program as the veteran's dependent. But that's a benefit and not necessarily this program.
Thank you for that clarification. I was wondering that same thing. Does anyone else have questions? Well, thank you so much, Heather and Teresa. That was wonderful information. I know I learn every time we do one of these, so I love that because then it helps me to give, better information to clients who call in, and where to kind of guide them to contact. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you taking your time out of today to meet with us.
You're absolutely welcome. And again, I apologize for the
It's okay.
Tech issues.
I think there are always technology issues. It's just normal. So it's nice when we do. Next month, we're having a caregiver celebration event, and it will be in person. So that will be one less thing to worry about. Is not so much technology issues, right?
So you're celebrating National Caregiver Month.
We are. So at the beginning, I said, and I'll do a reminder. Our caregiver event is on Thursday, November 2nd, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It's for caregivers. It's a celebration, and it will be at House 330 in Akron. And did we have the link for that registration? I can't remember if it was there. Okay. Like looking at the chat. So so if you know of caregivers who would be interested in attending, we would love to have them. It's going to be a fun day. I'm looking forward to it too. I know that people deserve a little bit of time to celebrate the role that they play and to also relax a little bit. So, yes, the event link is posted there. All right. Well, thank you again, and hope everybody has a great rest of your day.